We've chosen quite a title for this, self-leadership and the colorful dance of the inner lines. And there's all these different things to unpack in there. And I'm going to start with that first one. And I want to direct a question to Catherine, because Catherine,
Mm.
something I've heard you say over and over that I really love is you claim that everybody is a leader. And I'd love to hear in your words right now what you mean by that and why that message is important for our world.
What a great question, Ben. Thank you. So, we all have sticky notes on us. We have
Hmm.
sticky notes for who and what we are. So, it matters what we put on our sticky notes. So, let me give you an example from business research as to why it is important. Researchers put people from similar socio demographics in two different rooms. Then they mocked an emergency. They
Mhm.
labeled one group leaders and another group followers. When the mock emergency happened, behaviors were totally different amongst the group. So those who were labeled followers completely fell apart and did not handle the emergency well. Those who were given the label or title leader, they got out of that mock emergency really, really well. So the
Mm.
moment we kind of put on a sticky note on that says follower, in many words, it's like an F word. It denigrates our behavior. So how we label ourselves really does matter. And so often we're in automatic with these labels. And I believe we are all actors with in search of what is real, often in our actorship. We all have scripts that we're constantly repeating to ourselves.
Mm.
And the invitation with what we're doing is to have a plethora of different scripts so that we know what we need in the moment to serve what is present
Mm.
instead of constantly running the same scripts, actors running the same lines. It's like when we go for a bike ride and we're constantly on the same trail. Our body needs us to change up the trail so that we get stronger and become more present.
Mm.
Can we see that? And can we become more aware of what our scripts are?
And for me, Catherine, that's what this unfolding of the design of this course has been about. Finding how that's a predictable pattern. Like I have dogs in the backyard, they run the same ruts to the fence when the car pulls in the drive. And that's the same thing in my brain. So, what you're saying is really helpful. And it's helpful in the context of this conversation to think about our personality patterns
Yeah.
that we think with those sticky notes is who I am is not. It's just my addiction to that rut trail.
Yes. And what you're both talking about, so that with the labels of leaders and not leaders, and then a mock emergency situation, and then this addiction to certain ways, when we're stuck in our everyday pattern, it's kind of like we're in an emergency all the time, or at least our personality is acting like it because we're reacting against reality, right? And we're trying to resolve a situation and then jump to the next one before we actually properly resolve the previous one. And we don't have we don't have any capacity to take leadership ourselves in those places. So what we're trying to do is provide, what would we say, like everyday tools, accessible, practical ways to develop our own capacity to really show up when it matters in our everyday life.
Yeah. And I think from the standpoint of leadership, one of the things I love about Catherine's message is she demonstrates it. And that becomes this contagious thing
Hmm.
in system, whether that system's at home, whether that system's in a workplace or a spiritual community or whatever among a group of peers. It's like this work is my understanding of the self-awareness work begins to have an impact everywhere. But when we step into the leadership of behaving in a different way than is um, our automatic way, our autopilot way, then we change, but it also changes the system. And
Yeah.
it becomes this permission to be courageous and do something different. So that's my thank you to Catherine for being what you're talking about. But I also think maybe that colors in a little bit the way we're thinking about this course, that
Mhm.
it doesn't matter where you're coming from if you're a human being that's interested in getting unstuck. This is for you if you have some context of where you start on the Enneagram.
Mhm.
Mhm. And this is to build on what you're saying, Jonathan. The majority of people are asleep. We know from research only 10 to 15% of people are actually self-aware. So we, Jonathan, Ben, and I really want to empower other people to step into healthy power and love and wisdom through this course, through understanding these different lenses. We can expand on our lens by becoming more self-aware and see a vast world of possibility. And in
Mhm.
fact, endless possibility.
Yeah.
And then to translate it in terms of how we actually live and how we live in partnership, how we live as colleagues, how we live as friends, as family members, as, peer supports, whatever it may be.
Mhm.
We will really be diving into the expansion of who and what we are in this course through very practical guidelines and roadmaps
Yeah.
for everybody that comes and plays with us and joins us.
Yes, comes and plays with us, I think, is an important thread. I think play and playfulness is one of the values that we all share with this work, that there's real work to be done. And if there isn't a sense of play and humor, we're not going to last very long.